It's been controversial in India for years. The use of the so-called triple talaq by a man to divorce his wife is now outlawed. A new law replaces the centuries-old Islamic practice, but will it protect Muslim women? And is it politically motivated? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finnegan. A Muslim man in India can no longer divorce his wife by simply uttering talaq, the Arabic word for divorce, 3 times. If a husband tries to do that, he can now be jailed for up to 3 years. The so-called triple talaq method of instant divorce has been criminalised by India's parliament. The upper house passed the bill on Tuesday, 2 years after the Supreme Court declared the practice unconstitutional. But it's sharply divided lawmakers and campaigners. Those in favour say the new measure protects Muslim women. Opponents, though, say it's unusual to criminalise divorce and that the punishment is too harsh. Others argue that marriage problems should be reviewed by community leaders and not by the government. Well, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, or BJP, managed to pass the law after it had been blocked by the opposition for more than a year. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi celebrated what he called a victory on Twitter. He said an archaic and medieval practice has finally been consigned to the dustbin of history. Parliament abolishes triple talaq and corrects a historical wrong done to Muslim women. This is a victory of gender justice and will further equality in society. India rejoices today, he says. But opponents of the bill accuse his Hindu nationalist BJP of targeting Muslims. Asaduddin Owaisi, a member of parliament from the opposition All India Majlis-e-Ittehadul Muslimin party, said this law is against Muslim women and marginalises them even more. The law forces a woman to stay in a marriage with an imprisoned man who'd verbally and emotionally abused her. It puts the burden of proof on Muslim women and forces her into impoverishment. So what is the instant triple talaq? Well, the practice, as we've mentioned, allows Muslim men to divorce their wives just by saying the word. It can happen any time and by any means, including telephone, text message, or by social media post. The measure isn't used universally among Muslims around the world. Different Islamic schools of thought prefer the divorce process to be carried out over a period of 3 months, allowing time for reflection and reconciliation. More than 20 countries, including neighbouring Pakistan and Bangladesh, have banned the practice. The custom was prevalent among Muslims in India, which doesn't have a standard civil code. So let's bring in our guests for today's discussion. From New Delhi, we're joined by Desh Ratha Nigam, who's a lawyer associated with the legal wing of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, a Hindu nationalist organisation. Joining us from London, Gareth Price from Chatham House, a research and current affairs institute. And via Skype from New Delhi, Kamal Farooqi, who's founder of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, a non-government organisation which supports the protection of Muslim personal law in India. Desh Ratha, if we can start with you. Am I right in thinking that you were very much in favour of this bill? If so, why, when it's a discriminatory bill? Isn't it? It unfairly criminalises Muslim men, while those from other faiths who leave their wives commit only a civil offence.
See, let me tell you, let us be very, very clear. This bill is for the rights of married Muslim women and also gender equality and gender justice. It has nothing to do with religion. Now, criminalization is on account of instant triple talaq, not triple talaq. Instant triple talaq, which is uttered in one sitting by way of electronic means, WhatsApp, SMSs, emails, writing letters, or spoken words. That is what has been criminalized. Now, women used to live in constant fear, and they were treated as slaves and property that they can be thrown out anytime. Now, this instant triple talaq has no basis in Islamic law also. It is illegal and void under Islamic law also. In this background, a lot of these instant divorces were taking place and women were being thrown out. Now you have to make a distinction with abandonment. Now, abandonment in other religion does not lead to divorce. Legal status of a person does not change. But here, despite the fact it is un-Islamic, this inhuman practice was going on in our society. And therefore, this initiative was not started by Hindu men, it was started by Muslims themselves. They signed a petition, 1 million Muslim men and women in India, and most of them were women, signed this petition, and this process was initiated in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court of India held that it is unconstitutional and illegal. And despite the Supreme Court order, this practices were continuing, and women were being, thrown out of the houses, and therefore there was a law required to criminalize it and to make it as a deterrent. You also have such kind of laws in other Islamic countries, which is penal in nature, and people are sent to jail if they do not follow the laid down procedure. So opposition by certain sections of people is on account of their vote bank politics, which they are playing, and kind of creating a fear among the Muslims in India that their religion is being affected, their society is being affected. But end of the day, this is about being their fundamental rights, upholding their fundamental rights and other rights that the Constitution of India gives them.
Kamal Faruqi in New Delhi, you're opposed to the bill. Are people like you anti-women, as has been claimed many times in the debate leading up to the passing of this bill?
So thank you very much. First of all, since my brother Nigam has already started saying something about the religion and the constitution, so I have to rebut the whole thing very clearly. Number one, he said that it is illegal in Islam. I think he needs to go in for the teaching of Islam a little bit more, because it is not illegal. Yes, it has not been seen as the most favorable kind of things to pronounce the divorce, but it is not illegal. This is not un-Islamic. Various school of thoughts have got various versions about the whole thing, and it is being used primarily in this country by the Hanafi school of thought. So he must understand it. This is nothing un-Islamic about. This is not illegal in the Islams. Yes, it is not being the favored one. Even the one divorce in one go, it's being seen in Islam is one of the bad things, in fact. But Islam provides a way out if the husband and wife are not in a position to live together properly. The other thing, but what Mr. Nigam has said, in fact, that is why, in fact, I'm trying to respond to the whole question. As if it is seen that millions of the Muslim women have given the petition, is absolutely wrong. The genesis of the whole case is that it's a very unique kind of situation in my country, wherein an honorable Supreme Court judge, while he was delivering a judgment on a Hindu women right on the property, unfortunately that Hindu women could not get that right in spite of all those kind of things. He passed the judgment, both of them passed the judgment, and one of the judgments says that after having about a detailed discussion about the case, the just fag end of the part A of the judgment, last line he said that, and we have also come to know, within court itself, and it is written in the judgment also, we have also come across wherein the Muslim women are also being suffering because of various things. So we will discuss it in the part B. And part B, again, he discussed the whole judgment, and in the last two lines, and he said that it is proper for us to refer the whole matter to a public litigation. So this is not on the basis of the millions of the women, so-called women, which my brother is saying. It is in fact on the initiative of an honorable Supreme Court judge when this unique case has come. And after 6 months of this case, suddenly the plethora of the people started making the appeals and whatnot, and the case went over there. It was a 5-judgment case, in fact, and there was 3 kind of judgments in the whole thing. And one of the team, in fact.
Kamal, I'm going to interrupt you there, Kamal. We'll come to the detail a little bit later in the program. I noticed that you didn't answer my question there. Are people like you anti-women?
No, absolutely not. No Muslim can be anti-women, and he will not be a Muslim if he's anti-women, because Islam is one of the first religion in the world which gives the equal right to the women folk. And it gives a definite right in the property which no other religion has been given. And it also gives a right to the women to walk out of the marriage if she feels that she is not being treated properly, which is called the khula. And if the man says, then of course the correct procedure would be that it should be given in the 3 months period, and then it could be pronounced. But there is an option, there was an option which is not being seen very good and absolutely practicing, that triple talaq was also given, but it has been through our lectures, through our material, and you can find out in our website also that we have discouraged this kind of thing. Though it is legal, but we discourage it. That is the difference in fact, and we are not, no Muslim can be anti-women because we are concerned about women, whether it is the form of the daughter or the sister, mother or the wife.
Gareth Price in London, why was the government so determined to push this bill through?
I think the government would make the case that in the past certain anomalies in the personal law have benefited what it would describe as the minority community, i.e. Muslims. And I think there clearly is a long-term trend towards some kind of uniform civil code. I think the ability for Muslim men in India to divorce their wives by saying talaq 3 times, which, as you pointed out, isn't allowed in many other, actually Islamic majority countries, is something that I think is quite hard to defend. So I think it's become a sort of, this is the touchstone of reordering the personal codes.
So it's not in itself anti-Muslim, it's just the government doing what it said it was going to do when it came to power.
It's in the government's manifesto. I mean, I would point out that, I mean, there are many things that are illegal within India that don't necessarily, hasn't necessarily made a difference. So, for instance, dowries have been illegal in India since 1961, but they're still quite prevalent in marriages in there. So, I think this is something where the government doesn't have a majority in the upper house, but where enough lawmakers of other parties were able to support this particular measure.
Okay, Desh Ratan, is it not the case that what's actually required in India, as Gareth was saying there, is a uniform civil code that treats all citizens, regardless of their religion, their race, their gender, equally?
Yes, there's no doubt, and we have laws among Hindus which are penal in character, and therefore nobody can say that. But here it is, again I reiterate that it is not a question of abandonment. It is a question of the change of legal status of a wife from being a wife to a divorced person. And that is all again on the basis of something which is illegal, unconstitutional, inhuman. The law has not considered triple talaq as illegal. It is the instant triple talaq, which is talaq-e-biddat, which is done at one sitting, which keeps the women very fearful on tenterhooks, and they're treated like slaves and property. So this is different from being abandonment, where the legal status does not change of the wife. And therefore, the people who are trying to, speak against this law are the ones who do not want, the hegemony of certain section of men among the Muslims to go away. And they are trying to create fear among the minorities and consolidate the Muslims as a vote bank, which is where the entire politics is coming. And let me tell you, there are few things very important out here that I have seen men who are opposing it initially, but when it happens in their family, they start supporting this bill. So that kind of situation is also there. This is pro-women. It is about their rights. It is about gender equality and justice, and cannot be seen from the narrow, vision of religion.
Kamal Faruqi, people like you, opponents of the bill, just want to create fear among the minorities. How do you answer that?
Now, this is again, Mr. Nigam is putting himself in a very defensive situation, because he said, again, something which is incorrect. What the Muslims will get? The Muslims are just 13-14% of the total population of the country, and they have absolutely no power to change the whole scenario of the whole thing. Yes, the Muslims are being treated by certain political parties as the vote bank, but the Muslims have got their own choice about the whole thing. Now, Mr. Nigam has used twice the political thing. What politics we will be doing? We are in the minority, and we have absolutely no say. And you know what is happening right now in the country, that people have, it's very fearful to even go at a place wherein you are alone and then you're being lynched for one reason or the other. And politicization. Who is doing the politicization? Not us. I am not a political party. I'm simply a minority. But who is using me as a pawn? I'm being treated as a bad man in the whole society just to consolidate a particular vote bank, which has happened in the election also, and which is continuously going on. So labeling a charge on us that we are politicizing the whole thing is absolutely absurd, because absolutely we have no way. We are not in the majority in the country. We are in only very few states. We have got some leverage in the vote, but otherwise we have absolutely nothing. 13%, 15% population of the country. It is having hardly 23, 24 member of parliaments. This time we are 26 only parliament, wherein we should have been at least 60 as far as the population is concerned. What I'm trying to tell you that we are a democratic country and we have nothing to grudge as far as the system is concerned. But who is using it as a political weapon? We are not doing it. We are not capable. We are not a party. Who is the party? Mr. Nigam is the party. RSS is the party. BJP is the party. They want to consolidate the whole thing because they want to make the entire Muslim community feel very depressed, very second-class citizen, and they want to show it that, look, we have taught them a lesson, and that's the reason, in fact, they may be doing it. Why would I be doing it? I asked Mr. Nigam, why would I be doing it? I will not be doing it. The only thing is that the Supreme Court has only said, and it was a minority judgment, it has only said that as far as the fundamental rights are concerned, they cannot be changed. I have got the fundamental right under Article 15 to practice my religion,
okay,
and this is a part of the religion.
Well, let's put that to Deshratan. Do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, the fact remains, I think this is not personally against Mr. Faruqi. I'm talking about certain people and sections of political parties who are opposing this bill. Now look at how they helped in the upper house of Indian Parliament. They all privately want this bill to be passed, but publicly oppose it. In the Parliament, they abstained from voting, and some of them walked out, which brought down the mark of majority below a certain level, and therefore this bill was very easily passed. So they have two faces, one before public and one in private. In private, when it happens in their own family, they start supporting this bill. But otherwise, in public, they start opposing. I think everybody should be clear about the fundamental right to life with dignity to a woman, which is enshrined in our constitution. It has nothing to do with religion. That right does not talk about Hindus and Muslims. It is a neutral, religiously neutral fundamental right. And that is what has been given through. And the Supreme Court judgment was not acting as a deterrent. And therefore, number of cases were increasing and going on. I am only talking about reported cases. There are a huge number of unreported cases which are there despite the Supreme Court judgment. And therefore, this law was absolutely necessary to emancipate the women about gender justice and equality, and to make a law to act as a deterrent.
Gareth, the Supreme Court ruling had little impact on the ground. Will this law change anything? Surely it's just going to lead to an increase in men leaving their wives without getting divorced, or polygamy.
I think how it plays out in practice is, as you say, crucial. That the laws against dowry, as we're saying, are rarely applied in India. Is it going to be used to target members of the specific Muslim community? Is it just going to add to the backlog of cases in India's already overstretched legal system? Time will tell, but like I say, the passing of laws of itself doesn't necessarily change the ground reality. And regardless of religion, in large parts of North India, there's a huge number of challenges too. The status of women in society and in both communities. And in some of the states in North India, the female percentage of the labour force is less than in Afghanistan. So there's a whole series of gender challenges which need to be faced up to.
And Gareth, as an outside observer, what's your view? Is there a hidden agenda behind this bill?
I think the ruling party would say, as your speaker from the RSS said, that this is not good for women's rights. It's not good for the status of women. The fact that it's applies in the Muslim community is coincidental. But I think the fact that it is quite difficult to defend means that it actually passed in the upper house. I think if this is the signal of something, this is step one and then there'll be various other actions taken, it'll be much harder for the government to push it through the upper house. So let's see if it's just kind of symbolic or whether it's the first step of ironing out various anomalies in the Muslim personal law.
Desh Ratan, okay, it passed the upper house. Has it, though, this bill, been properly scrutinised by lawmakers? Why won't the government send it to a select committee, for instance, for revision?
Yes, I have an answer. This is not a new bill. This bill has been debated in the last session of the parliament, and certain, changes were suggested by opposition. Those safeguards and changes have been incorporated in the bill, and this is the new bill that has come up and that was introduced and passed. So the concern of the oppositions were already taken care of. They were suggested by the opposition, and those provisions have been included in the new bill, and it was thoroughly scrutinized and debated in parliament, and it is not necessary to be sent. There is no mandatory requirement to be sent to parliamentary committee or select committee. And this is, if it had been a new bill which would not have been debated earlier, one could have understood the demand of sending it to a select committee. The suggestions made by the oppositions have already been incorporated. There are safeguards to prevent the misuse of this particular law, and therefore their demand for sending it to select committee is now almost has no basis.
Kamal, why are so many people like you and community leaders in India against this bill when many other Muslim majority states, even Pakistan and Bangladesh next door, have regulated triple talaq?
I don't want to discuss that point right now here because time is very short, but I just want to respond to Nigam Sahab. In fact, he's a great man, in fact. Again, the fact what he's saying is absolutely not correct. Originally, the bill was cognizable offense. Means the person has to go in for 3 years jail. That is a must. The other things could have been that he going to the police and he could have got the bail. Now he will not be in a position to get the bail. Earlier, it was any passerby who would be passing and who would complain to the police that Mr. X has divorced his wife triple time. He will be automatically put into the jail for 3 years. Now, what they have done and what Mr. Nigam is saying, they have slightly made a change that now it will not be the outsider, it will be the blood relation.
Okay.
And in Islam, blood relation is a long list. And as far as the relations are concerned, as far as these disputes are concerned, sometimes it happens within the family itself.
Right.
So the person who is being blamed, he will be automatically into the bar behind the bar for 3 consecutive years. And he is being asked to support his How would it be supported? Ultimately, it is against women.
Time, as you point out, is tight. You've got a minute, Kamal, to answer the question you didn't want to answer, which is why are so many people in India against the regulating of triple talaq when Muslim-majority countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh have done so?
Yeah, as far as we are concerned, we have already regulated it. And as I said, perhaps in the beginning itself, we have made out a detailed nikah nama, which is a contract. And in Islam, nikah is a civil contract, and in that contract we have provided the provisions wherein automatically triple divorce will not be possible by putting in a compulsory arbitration clause in the nikahnama itself, saying that in case of there is any dispute, both the parties have to refer to the arbitration and mediation, and then they should discuss it so that there is a possibility of easing out the tension. This particular thing, in fact, if the nikahnamas are being performed according to what the would have not been happening. But unfortunately, we need to educate the people. Right. And the incidence of divorce is more among the illiterate kind of people.
Many thanks indeed. Your minute is up. There, gentlemen, I'm afraid we must leave our discussion. Thank you very much indeed to you all for being with us. Desh Ratan Nigam, Gareth Price, and Kamal Faruqi. And thank you, as always, for watching. Don't forget you can see the programme again at any time just by visiting our website at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page. You'll find that at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And you can join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle at AJ Inside Story. From me, Adrian Finnegan, and the whole team here at Doha. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again. Bye for now.